do have a goal, when the whole point is that you're not supposed to have a financial goal. It is very, very difficult, and actually tilted trading is exactly what that is really based on. It's that need. So yeah, it is a really difficult thing to do, and it's something that you need to be prepared for before you go into it, is the difference in the strategy and the way you approach it. And it's best to just stick with exactly what it is that you know and you do. There are, in regards to Kim's reference to the whales, there are a couple of websites that you can actually go to see what the whales are doing in their dark pool as well, which is interesting, because that's where they do it, or a lot of them do it, is in the dark pool money, where the retail markets can't see it. Okay, anyway, moving on. So tilted trading is, I suppose it's for anybody who doesn't know, it's basically your emotional trading. I have a bit of a quiz, and if people are happy to, I would like them to actually just answer, see how they go with these questions, and just see if it's never, rarely, sometimes, or often, just to actually score that. And let me know how you go, or I know where I'm running a little bit short on time at the moment. Do you want me to read them out? Is it better for people who maybe don't have like a very big screen? And
I think we can read ourselves. And
okay.
Yeah, you need to answer from anyone, or
No, just score it yourself, that's fine.
Yeah.
So really it's 0 to 3, how often that relates.
As you saw, we got a time frame analysis from Pooja, so that's number 5. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll move on. Yep.
It resonates very much with all of us every time.
I am the off one, actually. I do everything all of the time. It isn't written over there. You got me, Gary.
We'll come back to it. All right, so a question. I know, lots of questions this time. How often do you think about the influence of emotions on your trading? So everyone knows FOMO, all those things. We all talk about revenge trading. We all talk about those sorts of things. But how often, like, I hear a lot of traders and they talk about it, and it's just brushed off. It's just a term. It's not actually looked at as something real that people are actually looking at for their own trading. And it's something that I'm finding more and more. So I suppose, how much influence do you think emotions have on your trading? How do you evaluate that? Do you evaluate it? Or do you just sort of, it's a brief passing thought? Do you know what your triggers are that actually make emotions affect it more? And this one is one I want to know. Do people think that they would know before or after if their emotions were influencing their trading? Does anyone think that they would definitely know, not know, it's a sneaky one? Anyone willing to put it out there?
These are brilliant questions. Every one of us goes through this.
Feels like getting slapped, actually.
What was that? Sorry.
Sorry, like I said, feels like getting slapped, because yes, I'm just going through every single thing.
I know. Okay. So pretty much every single big trader recognizes emotions. Richard Dennis, exactly why he does his systematic always is that he doesn't trust his own judgment, because he doesn't believe that you will do the right thing in the right moment. This one is by far my favorite, by Warren Buffett. Mr. Market is a drunken psycho, emotionally rational and moody. The key is to not get caught up in his drama. I love that one. And if nothing else, just keep thinking about that. He's emotional, irrational, and moody. Don't rely on it. Another one, it's expensive to try and convince it that it's right, that you're right. And Mark Douglas always has words of wisdom. Few would admit it, The typical trader is trying to create certainty where it doesn't exist. So what is the human factor? So the human factor, expectations, is the feeling of trying to find self-worth, need for excitement. We are wired 100% to always need an outcome. That's where we're wired every day of our life, to find an outcome. We have to have something. That's why we make a decision. And identity is, we need to know who we are. What's our purpose, where we're going. We create a picture in our mind when we start deciding to go down the trading path of what we want to achieve from it. And it's like you play this picture in your head all the way through to retirement and no longer needing to work. And we create all of that. So we then create the expectations, and then we put our worth onto that and whether we're achieving those things. So I really love that with Mark Douglas, is when I put on a trade, all I expect is that something happens. I think that's very good. Between the trade and the trader, I think the difference between is when you look at a trade and the trader, we're looking at what you need. So a trade needs different things to what a trader wants. So a trade, we obviously need to manage our risk, and we need to protect what we have, and we achieve our goals. As the trader, our natural instinct for everything is to avoid risk and uncertainty. We don't want risk and we don't want loss. Whereas as a trader, we need to accept that loss is a part of the process. So what do? It is the ultimate battle between good and evil, the trade or the trader. Who's getting what and what's going to win? And that is basically tilted trading. So do we make a shot? Do we succeed, or do we kill our trophy? So exactly what is a tilted trader? It is when you completely lose control of rational thinking and your strategic trading decisions. It's, again, expectations, what we want, when we want it, and how we're going to get it. We know those things. It's, again, that picture in our head that we have already played out right through to the end. The pressure that we put on ourselves to do that. How many times do we often think, do more, be better, do it faster, get there quicker? We all want to be there quicker. And as Partha said, we all want more. We want to know more. We want to do things more. We want to get more. Always it's more, and we want to do it faster. Obviously, too much pressure, emotional tension, because we can't meet those expectations. When we start a job, when we're very, very young, we don't expect to become management in 2 years. So, well, most of us don't anyway. Whereas we're expecting to learn trading, become live and earn $1 million in a very short period of time. I actually found a quote by Jesse Livermore that actually said that people spend 5 years learning to trade, but they're happy to spend 50 years doing a 9-to-5 job that they hate. And bias, which is really, really quite important. Bias is not just the normal bias that we think of with everything else. It's that when we look at something, we actually see what we want to see. So it's actually a physiological as well as a psychological and cognitive bias that we can have. So how do we know when all market noise freaks you out and makes you think something's going to happen that perhaps isn't? You just not paying attention, or you're paying attention too much. Nothing's happening, so you start adjusting your strategy to be able to trade more, to get what you want faster. Looking at charts to find a setup. I like these ones. So FOMO, everyone knows FOMO. It is, sorry. It's, oh my, sorry. So it's basically all fear related. holding on for dear life, fear of doing anything. Overtrading so you don't miss out. Missing out meaning not just on outcomes, but on the feeling of success, the excitement of actually getting into a trade, feeling like you're doing something and achieving your goal. Don't have an exit strategy. So many people don't have an exit strategy when they get in. They know they have to cut losses. They know they have to do these things, but to actually understand, okay, I go in and I have been doing a lot of stuff with the adjusted turtle trading strategy. And it's one of those things that it's exactly this. Cut your losses at this point, get out at this point. That's it. End of story. Rules done. Avoiding market conditions for no reason is something else that I have heard a bit about, which is, oh, it's a volatile market, I should just stand out. If you've got no reason for that, if your strategy is there and it actually covers a volatile market, then there's no reason to not actually get into the trade. If you have risk management, then you're actually going to be able to take a loss and everything's fine. Another one that I see so much is exiting early, and you can fluff it up any way you want, but a lot of the times exiting early is just basically because you want to see a win. Does anyone have any questions up till now?
This is so true. The exit early problem is like a pandemic. Everyone trader is having this. We need to get out of this exit early, because the trend is a trend which stays there for 9 months, 12 months.
Which
I was coming to that point because I'm coming with I always go with the short targets. How to fight with that?
Okay, so as I said, I have been studying a few things, and I was very surprised that I found this chart. It was wonderful. So this is using the adapted turtle traders for the ATR, which has been smooth. So if this is my point with the whole, you see what you want to see. So if you really, really want to trade and you've had enough and you've been sitting there for ages and you've got nothing and you just want to do something. So you look at this. And you know what? That is a valid breakout. Absolutely a valid breakout. But if you look at the big picture, if you're looking at 55 days or 50 days, it's already started trending well and truly. So does that change anyone's perspective on whether they would enter? Do they pause, say, more than what they would have if they had have just focused on the 20 days? Anyone want to fess up what they think?
If there is an entry signal, we must enter.
Pardon?
If there is an entry signal, we must enter.
Exactly. Do you pause? If you were to see this, like some of the other trade, like different traders, everyone's different. But the point is, I suppose at this point, if you were already tilted and you were trying to avoid loss and you saw that, would you pause? Would you doubt your strategy? Would you think twice? And that's, I think, what a lot of people who have that tilt, that is one of the problems that they have, is they have their rule. And, yes, there's actually, I think 3, maybe 4 breakouts in there already. But do you, obviously, yes, you take it regardless of the breakout, but does that change anyone's perspective on whether they would take it, or even their position size? Would they change their position size? If they did take it and they saw this as what happened afterwards and it ended up being a loss, would that affect what you did next time? Would it affect whether you took that breakout? Would you doubt yourself the next time? And that's one of those things that tilt does. It's a cycle. So with tilt, It is one of those things that most traders don't even know that they're doing. The worst part about it is that most of the time you can completely justify it as being normal. The questionnaire before that I gave is an example of a lot of those things were tilted. However, if you did it for the right reason, that's okay. So as with anything that is, as with anything, sorry, anything that you can't see that's under the surface, it's never a great thing. And it generally ends badly unless you're aware of it. So I think most traders, and I do hear this pretty much consistently, is, oh, that happened and I don't know why I did that. Generally, there's something on your mind. There's something else happening that you just went into autopilot or you weren't paying attention. I actually said to Ben today, I thought I was putting an alarm on for something and I ended up putting a trade on. Obviously not paying attention. It happens to everyone. And when we're thinking about other things, that's what happens. Again, as I said, it can be completely justified as rational. So you might say, think of another trade in the middle of the trade that you're in while executing another one and think, oh, I can't make that same mistake. All straight away, you've actually been tilted because you're not trading what's in front of you anymore. You're actually trading something else. A lot of people I've also heard have actually said to me, you know, they're sitting there, they're not doing anything. They start wondering whether they've missed a setup somewhere, they've missed an entry. So they start going back and they look at their trades and they look at the charts. But you do that and you're actually missing what is happening now. So you're actually missing those things. So even though you can completely justify a lot of things, it's actually tilted in a large. So a cycle that snowballs. So example is a lot of people who do their journaling. Surprisingly, there's a lot of people who don't do journaling. So you do your journal and you are focusing mainly on the ones that you're making a loss on and not the ones that you're making a win on, not all of them, just the loss. So you become avoidant of loss. So you start perhaps restricting your strategy, you start putting more filters in there, you start putting more criteria, which then makes you overly cautious with when you go into a trade, how you set up, those sorts of things. Ultimately, again, leads to a fewer trades. There's not as many trades because there's very few trades that will fit into the perfect certain category that people are striving for. Eventually, because they're wanting to actually make money, they're falling behind, they're not able to meet their goals. Eventually they start overtrading, they start revenge trading and emotional trading. Tilt comes in and it starts a cycle. They end up losing, they start to avoid loss, it continues. So yes, as I was saying, it all doesn't work out well for the Titanic with things that go under the water. So things that we need to ask ourselves. So our expectations are a problem. So are they realistic? Are we expecting something that is not going to happen? We will never find a perfect trade. As Mark Douglas, we're looking for certainty where there isn't any. Can we achieve that perfect picture that we have in our head? Generally, no, because it's a perfect picture, it's not reality. Our perception. So what is an outcome? Because an outcome is doing your trading successfully, following the process. You know, actually being able to come out the other side and feel proud. Like an outcome is always there. It's just what the outcome is, which can actually cause more problems. What we feel that we need worth what actually we do need. You know, what is really important? A lot of people actually will say, oh, you know, I need trading. but it's not really trading say necessarily that they need, it's what trading gives them that they need, and that's what they actually need to focus on. That's the real outcome that they're looking for. And trading is all about, you can sit there for 6 years and not make a lot of money. You stick to your strategy, you stick to your edge, and you can make it all in one hit. But you just need to stay disciplined and follow your strategy, follow everything that's there. And if you have any question about the strategy, go back, start back testing, start doing your demo trading, take away any question you have. With your feelings, emotions don't have any part in trading, however, they're there. We can't stop them as much as we'd love to. They get in the way. But are they trying to tell us something? Are they telling us that we're doing the wrong thing? Are they telling us that we are tilted? Are they telling us that we're actually doing something just out of comfort rather than out of the strategy itself? And feeling about feelings. Most people don't think about that. But if you say, have a trade because of greed or because you're afraid, how do you feel about that? Would you feel guilty? Would you feel ashamed? Like, what feelings come from the feelings? Say anger. Anger never comes alone. Anger always has a friend with it. It never happens on its own. So the quiz. With the quiz, is anyone willing to actually say what they got on the quiz?
Kim made a very good comment here, and there was a question for you also, Kerry.
Sorry.
Kim said, for those who may not be aware, tilt is a reference to playing pinball. The pinball machine has sensitivity settings, and when you get too emotional playing the game, the machine will tilt and the game is over.
It's
So
actually also for poker as well, they use it.
that
It's
was a
both of them.
statement here. Absolutely correct. And Barney has asked a question: which one do you listen to when you chart said stay, my gut said no, my heart said maybe, my head said wait and confirm, and I said exit?
Ask the
Follow
question.
the rules.
Exactly.
Question was, which one do you listen to?
Exactly. What are the rules?
Yeah, exactly.
And that is exactly the only thing really that your personal might. This is my opinion. The only thing that your emotions, your body, anything that you have to think of, the only part that comes to is, am I following my rules? Am I following my rules for the right reason or not? And should I be looking at this chart? Pretty much that's it. And am I doing the wrong thing? I think, we can get a lot of information from, say, emotions and all of those things. And we need to look at our trades and then say, okay, have I done anything wrong? Like, have I ignored anything? Have I done those things? Am I not following my rules? But that is probably the only place where that comes in. And although none of us like George Soros at the moment, as a trader, he's really good. He has always said that that's what he looks for, is when he is feeling those things, his gut and his heart, he goes back and has a look. He doesn't do anything on them, but he looks at things to see what are they trying to tell. And that's the only thing you need to look at. Does that answer that question?
Bernie?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Karen.
So does anyone want to actually give an idea of how they fit into the quiz? Keeping in mind that the behaviors themselves aren't necessarily the problem. Sometimes it is, well, it's always the reason why we're doing it. It's yes, you can exit a trade because you're trying to protect your capital. That's fine. But are you doing it for the right reasons, or are you really doing it because you want to win? Because that has all these other things that come with it. You want profits and you want to see more green on your spreadsheet than red. What is the case and what is the reason for it? And that, I suppose, is the point of all of these things. So anybody want to know? Okay.
Please share with Kerry. This is tremendous. This will be so helpful.
So looking at where does it start? Why do we do this? How does this come about? It happens to everyone. So comparing yourself to other people, you can look at other people and you can think, wow, how did you get that? What did you do? Why aren't I there? A lot of people that I know of that actually have started trading because they've seen somebody on YouTube who have actually said, oh, I've made this much money in this amount of time. And they see it as a quick fix to any number of problems. Yeah. So Frankenstein strategy is the same sort of thing. It's taking strategy from a number of different places, putting them together, and they don't make sense. They don't fit together. The strategies are all, it's based on an edge. So if those edges aren't the same, then the strategy is not going to work together. And then you have to take into account that when you put a trade on, you really have a 50-50 chance of it being a winner because it's only win or lose. So you can at times, if you're not careful, actually take a win and not realize that it's actually just random chance. So we need to be careful that strategies that we're taking, we understand what we're using them for, why they're being used, and that they actually suit us. Fighting the survival instinct of protecting ourselves, avoiding loss, avoiding risk, that's a difficult thing to do. And if you don't know how to do it, you don't know how to calm yourself and settle that down, then that actually will automatically kick in fight or flight, automatically. Trying to trade against our beliefs and values. So look at, because George Soros can be called the trading psychopath because he has no emotions in regards to the consequences. Who would be able to know, like willingly say short the Bank of England, knowing how much damage that was going to do to all of those people in England? Yeah. Would you be able to do that? Would you be able to not necessarily do that, but would you be happy to make money off that? It's making sure that you trade your values. For me, there are certain things that I would never trade because there's things that they do that I would never, ever, I don't believe in, and I would find it very difficult. Reliving trades. That's one of the big things. You leave your room in front of your computer and you walk out and you find yourself laying in bed thinking about a trade that you did wrong and what you could have done better, and all of these things that happened and what you won't do next time. And when you don't switch off, you need to switch off. It's like any job, you need to switch off. And should, could, and what if. Probably the worst things that we can say to ourselves in our head. I should have entered here. I could have exited there and I would have made money. What if I exit here and it continues to run? I shouldn't have done this. They're all regret. They're all emotion. They're all things that will lead us to that tilt. And none of us want to admit that we are emotional trading, so we justify it through whatever means we can. Does anyone have any questions?
Hey, Kerry, can I just add to that very first point, compare yourself? If it helps anybody, a wise man once told me that when I started comparing myself to anything on the outside, that never compare yourself to anyone but yourself, that you're a better person today than what you were yesterday. And that saying helped me all the way through trading. So thank you, Parker, for that pearl of wisdom very early on in the days.
Thank you.
Yes, it was pearl of wisdom. It was very good. But we do also have to be careful that we don't compare ourselves to our previous successes, because we are going to have times where we're going to have a string of losses. That's just trading. It's the market is a drunken psycho. It's all over the place. Okay, so what can we do? First of all, my favorite thing is love your approach. Wins, losses, and the percentage it gives back. 100% all the time. And if you ever start to dispute that, stop trading and go back. And I mean, obviously, if you're trading live, stop trading live. Stop spending money if you do not love your approach and aren't willing to accept everything about it. If you're still in the process of learning, then question your awareness. Why am I not happy with this? Is there an actual problem, or is it just that I'm not meeting my expectations? Is it that I'm not going fast enough? What is the reason why you're not loving your approach? Account for your tilt triggers in strategy. And one of the actual reasons that I do love the turtle strategy so much is that it actually does account for this. So it gives you two options, basically. It gives you the lowest of the 10 days, or it actually gives you a trailing stop. And whichever it comes first, or whichever you choose to do. So it's to stop you from completely messing it up. And he also does, Jerry Parker actually also has changed it to end of day only trading. So he doesn't have the issue of intraday impulse control issues, which is one of the things that he definitely says he struggles from. Know also your strategy limitations. Know whether your strategy fits the market, whether it fits what you're trying to do. Do you understand it enough that you can adjust it to a particular strategy? So let's say a strategy that is open and close market. Obviously, that's probably not going to work exactly 100% in crypto, because there's no open close specifically. But it depends on, I suppose, why you're using open and close as to whether that's going to fit. You need to know the limitations of your strategy and how to use that. Make sure your goals are process focused, because if they're process focused, then you also, apart from you're not going to get caught up in attachment to the outcome, your goal is also that you do follow your process. So the likelihood of you following the process is going to be stronger. Identify the triggers for you to completely lose control. So if you get a bill for something in your life, in like normal everyday life, are you going to be more focused on an outcome because you need the money? Are you going to be so driven that you're going to miss certain things? You might chase a trade because you think that might be the one, but it's actually not the one. You just want to make the money from it as a possibility. Reframing your perspective. So that's, do we look at things as I want to lose less, or do I want to look at process more? Like it's a scarcity versus an abundance mindset, looking at what you can do with what you do have rather than what you don't do with what you don't have, if that makes sense. Embracing anxiety. A lot of people don't embrace anxiety. They don't realize that anxiety or stress can actually be a good thing. It's called eustress, EU stress, and it actually enhances our performance. It's just you need to keep it under control. If you try and stop anxiety, you're in trouble. It never works, and you end up with more anxiety. Instead of reflecting and reviewing your trade during your trade, make sure you set times to do it so you don't make the mistake of doing it outside while you're trying to cook dinner or trying to spend time with your family or in your normal life, in your job. Make sure you're doing it at the right time. Most traders will tell you that trading is uncomfortable, but you can make uncomfortable comfortable. You just have to actually find uncomfortable as a part of your comfort zone. Know that it's okay to feel like this, but again, develop the awareness enough to ask the question, is this the right type of uncomfortable that I'm feeling? Or am I doing something wrong? So music 50 to 80 beats per minute is actually a very interesting one. 50 to 80 beats per minute is obviously our resting heart rate. If we're feeling too anxious, if we're feeling overwhelmed, listening to music 50 to 80 beats per minute can actually bring our body back into the resting stage. It's a bit of a trick that people use. It can actually also bring our brainwaves back into the correct area where we need to work at our best. I know that, like, I have a playlist where I have this music, and I often will finish the list and realize I actually haven't heard any of it. It's just unconscious. It's just gone in there. It's just done its job, and it's made me feel better, and I'm much more productive. Have a complete trading plan. Entry, exit. Where do you cut your losses? What are you doing? I actually really like Paul Tudor Jones. He actually gives himself a stop loss, but he also gives himself a time stop. So if a trade's not doing what he thinks it should be doing by a particular time, he'll exit. And question yourself. Just the fact that you are questioning yourself, just the fact that you are aware, puts you in a better place. It actually gives you, it brings it to the conscious mind that it's a possibility, and that in itself will actually help you in overcoming those tilted decisions and your trading. Are there any questions at all? So when I was saying reframe, we generally have the perspective that if something needs to be helpful, pleasant, desirable, and constructive, we want to avoid pretty much everything else. But it's not actually the case. We can make a mistake in our trading, and obviously it can be unpleasant and not desirable. It even can be destructive, but it could be helpful because we've made a mistake and we're actually doing something with it. We could have something that is pleasant and we get the result we want, but it's not great because it's not the right thing to do. We've just reinforced, say, a bad habit. So it's I suppose like a formula. Looking at those particular aspects is, yeah, it wasn't great. It didn't give me the outcome I wanted, but was it helpful? Yeah, it actually kind of was. And that's something that we need to look at with that reframing our perspective. And the same thing again is reframing our perspective with what is our goal? What do we want to get out of this? How important is trading in this whole scheme of things? Am I putting too much importance on that? And is that giving me too much pressure? And everything else is just falling apart. They're all questions that you need to ask yourself. And I can help with some questions to ask yourself. But once you actually start looking at your journal and seeing times when you yourself have been tilted, or thinking of those sorts of scenarios where you might have been, and looking for the triggers, asking those questions. Where did I go wrong? What happened? Where did I go right? And taking it from there, learning from what you've done right, what you've done wrong. Does anyone have any questions at all? I'm sorry, I did actually pump through that pretty quick.
Mihir said,
Oh.
Mihir wrote, thanks for this slide. It's very helpful. Any questions to Kerry, please?
I just want to thank you. It's actually the whole slides put me into the deep thinking that what am I doing and how can I fight with that? And yes, thank you so much for all these, the solutions as well, what you're explaining. It's just definitely going to help me out, Kerry.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad.
Mihir, you ask any particular question, or you just want to thank you want just to thank Kerry? Mihir,
Kerry, because I can resonate myself because I've been lately doing a lot of music to calm myself down. So I can resonate myself to do this actually. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if you do want to find some music, not that I'm encouraging people to do AI, it's definitely something that people decide whether they want to or not. You can actually put into one of the AI things about that you want music 50 to 80 beats per minute, put in the type of artist that you like, the type of music, and it will actually give you a whole list of things that you can use. And surprisingly, I've had Guns N' Roses come up with the same thing. So, it's music that you wouldn't normally expect to be that.
No,
any
thank
other
you.
question? Yeah, go.
No, thank you. Yep.
Mihir is in tremendous pressure because he's in a law firm and he's handling class suits, and that too involves big companies like Credit Suisse. So he's under tremendous time constraint. But at the same time, I must say that even if he's under so much of time constraint, he's trying to learn, he's taking his time, he's doing his back testing, demo question, practice task. Yeah, he's doing everything. All of you are doing it. Yeah. So please take advantage of this quarterly presence of brilliance like Kerry Brown, and please ask all your questions. Don't hesitate. Don't think that any question can be bogus or stupid. No question is bogus or stupid. Only this answer can be stupid if the person is not knowing the answer. So please
And
ask me.
also keep in mind that you are able to email me if you do have any questions, and people who come to the masterclass are actually able to access some free time as well. So, and it doesn't matter what stage you are in this whole trading journey. Sometimes it's better to stop bad habits from starting rather than trying to fix them once they're there.
I've got two questions. Thanks, Kerry. I really enjoyed that. Firstly, am I able to get a copy of that pack just to kind of digest some of the concepts a bit further?
We don't do that. We don't do that. Sorry. What you can do is for personal access. What you can do, you can request for a recording, which we are doing for your benefit. And then you can have the recording, and then you can take the screenshot. And we don't know what you do with that, but don't for personal use.
Sure.
But yeah, definitely recording can be helpful. That is why we are recording these sessions.
Thanks, Parth. Yeah, my second question is: do we sort of cover? Is it part of the course? Is it one of the courses? One of the modules we kind of go into the psychology aspect, or is that sort of separate topic?
Kerry, you want to take it?
It's at the moment, like, so I'm just going to say one of my big things is know when to not push yourself into something that you don't have the time or ability to do. You will end up not doing great and it will all fall apart. So at the moment, I have actually restricted, say, the master classes and things like that to once a quarter for the reason that I have a lot of things going on. I will actually be doing some courses and developing them. I just want to make sure that when I actually can do them, I do them for the best, like, possible content. So it will come. It has started. I have started developing them. I just need to make sure I'm doing the right thing. If there is this a particular slideshow that you want to talk to me about, you're welcome to actually email me. I can set up a time and we can go through it slide by slide, and you can ask your questions and get clarification for any of those things. So feel free to email me and we can definitely do that. Does that help?
Thanks. Yeah, it does. Thanks, Gary.
Yep.
Yeah, Bernie and anyone can definitely approach Kerry, as she is repeatedly saying, through email. And of course, you can book a 1 hour session, if I'm not wrong. If
Yep.
she is, even when she is having time, she can definitely have one-on-one 1 hour sessions to help you out to solve your immediate problem.
Oh, absolutely. So yes, I actually am fine with doing, one-on-one sessions, things like that. It's the developing of the courses I want to make sure that I put my best effort and the best information into, which is what the delay has been with the courses, because they've been on the website for a while. But yes, they are definitely coming. Anyone else have any questions or anything clarify?
Any questions to Kerry or to Kim or to Barney? Kerry is approachable at Kerry Brown, Kerri, Kerry Brown at npfinancials.com.au. So anyone who is interested to even ask a small questions like what is the time stop or why anything, and she has done so brilliantly for so many probably now years. You can approach her to Kerry Brown at npfinancials.com.au. Any last minute questions, please?
Well, thank you for your time, everyone. And
Thanks, Kerry.
It was much a learning experience for me.
Tremendous, Kerry. It is really brilliant. Yeah. So thank you so very much for your time and effort and world-class presentation. I've seen thousands, millions of presentation. All of you must have seen, but the way Kerry presents it, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Arthur?
Yeah, go.
Sorry, I just got an additional point on on Tesla.
Go.
Whilst the tariffs were reduced, there's been a discussion that all companies that are producing cars in the US will get a 3.75% vehicles rebate, which also have impacted Musk's decision to buy those million shares, because he knows that there's going to be a direct benefit to him along with the BYD story as well. So the tariff is not dead, it expired. It hasn't been renewed, but there is talk that it's going to be extended.
Yeah,
what that
absolutely.
does to the share price, we don't know. Trade the technicals.
Yeah, absolutely correct. 100% correct. Thank
And
you.
Kim, sorry, one question. This Target West app that you shared today, is it like a paid thing or is it a free?
Kim.
Sorry, I had my mic off. That particular one actually has a subscription.
Okay.
But a lot of that information is available on FinViz and a number of other websites, just curated in a different format.
Got you. Yeah.
Any last 23 seconds question before we close our day today? If not, thank you so very much. Special thanks to Kim for his brilliant presentation on target based, and then Bernie on his brilliant presentation of his 94% success rate on the backtesting of 4 hourly on EMA 50 EMA with a weekly pivot, and obviously Kerry's brilliant presence. So thank you so very much. Really appreciate. Till we speak next month. Trade well and take care. Bye for now.
See you later.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.